two, 1, 2, 3.
There are books that are good, there are books that are bad. There's some books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all. Cause a novel can ruin your life. Hey buddy, I don't even own a television.
All right, welcome to I Don't Even Own a Television, a podcast about books that are bad. Sometimes these books are egregiously bad. This week is one of those times because it purports to give you important information, and most of it is awful. With me today, actually, is a producer, rapper, and internet entity extraordinaire, Mr. Klopfenpop.
How's it going? I've never been referred to as Mr. before, at least not with my handle. Yeah, we just say manager.
Yeah. It's hard when you're using handles, I've noticed, because I always have a tendency to downplay the one word thing. So I added the Mr. so it would sound official.
Well, I appreciate that.
But anyway, so you suggested this book, which is called "Dude, You're Gonna Be a Dad" by John Pfeiffer.
Yes, it is.
It is actually called that. And you want to explain why?
Well, I do think we should not leave out the subtitle, because the full title is, and I like to, this is the voice I hear it in my head, or at least heard it initially. We'll get to that later, but
Yeah.
Dude, you're gonna be a dad. How to get both of you through the next 9 months. Both of you, by the way, is a parenthetical statement.
Oh my gosh.
See, it works on 2 levels.
So,
It's so bad. Oh.
So yeah, you came to me with this book because, dude, you're gonna be a dad.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a dad, dude.
Yeah, I'm not yet. Probably never. Yesterday, I fell off my porch because I drank too much tequila. And I'm not joking. If I sound a little sedate today, it's because I've been smoking a lot of marijuana to deal with the incessant pain.
Well, if you ever do have kids, you'll have the pleasure of having them scream at you, "I learned it from watching you." So
Oh, man,
you'd have that to look forward to.
That's a deep pull, dude. I hope everybody listening to this is over the age of 30. I made that joke around my wife the other day. She had no idea what I was talking about. So.
All right.
Anyway, so, dude,
yeah.
You're going to be a dad.
Yeah, my wife is pregnant. We're going to have a kid due in September.
Hate to interrupt, but you just said wife, and I believe, according to this book, the preferred term is BMP, baby making partner.
Yes.
Yeah, stick to the script, homie.
Oh my God, this fucking book. There's so many things. Okay. So I can't say it. Despite the fact that as a producer, I see BMP and immediately read it as BPM, which is beats per minute or tempo. And this dude writes BMP literally everywhere that you would refer to the other person in the equation of a pregnancy in a book about pregnancy.
I can understand the motivation behind it, and it's to avoid the whole wife/girlfriend conundrum here, but I think BMP is one of the most possibly dehumanizing terms I've ever heard you to use to describe a human being. So.
Not to mention that this book is wrought with, it's just rife with places where it is clearly obvious he's not talking about unwed people, or like something that only applies like old married people. Like, I don't want to get too far into it, but like my wife and I have been married a solid 6 years now, and like there were like things in here that felt like alienated me as a person. I was like, wow, well, as marriage, that's not a thing I'm experiencing yet.
But yeah, he seems a little bitter about his marriage in this book.
He really does.
And in women in general, but we'll get into that a lot more. I decided I'd Google his name to see what his qualifications were to write a book about pregnancy. And apparently he has 3 kids and a blog that he's posted on once. So...
Yeah, I would like to point out that he is the author of other books which I'm sure are independently wonderful and in no way an attempt to cash in on the lucrative and wildly successful Dude series. Such titles as Dude, You're Getting Married, How to Get, parentheses, Both of You, and parentheses, Through the Big Day, and Dude, You're a Dad, How to Get, parentheses, All of You, and parentheses, Through Your Baby's First Year.
That's like a trilogy.
Right?
It's the Dude triptych. So, basically, like what we have here, because I don't know if we've really laid it down in specific terms, is this is a book who's written a guy who's had some kids, and he's giving advice to young fathers-to-be, and supposedly, speaking in a cool, hip tone. But it comes across as very anachronistic, and I spent about the first half of this book thinking he must be in his 40s.
Really?
Because of the tone and some of his references, which, I'll get more into that later. But the tone of the book reminded me a lot of like Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Mechanics or something. Except I think he was attempting irony, and it dawned on me about halfway through the book that a lot of these like kind of like chauvinist statements that he made, I think, were attempts at sarcasm or irony that just didn't read. So I don't know. But either way,
I'd have a hard time buying that though.
Yeah.
And I think I read it more as him trying to seem really hip and like, oh, I know how to talk like these kids today. I can get down with the millennials. Meanwhile, a book written in 2011, the title is, giving him the benefit of the doubt, either a reference to Dude, Where's My Car or the Dude, You're Getting Adele commercials.
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about Dude, You're Getting Adele.
I don't know which one it is, and I don't know which one would be worse for it to be.
It's not delivery. It's DiGiorno's. All right, sorry. That was get it? Delivery? All right, anyway. Sorry. All right. So yeah, basically though, it's filled with, I don't know. I'm sure you have a better idea than I do whether this advice is actually good, but I'd say the way it's worded is very condescending, and most of it seems either very obvious or very dumb. So I don't know.
Yeah, it really sort of, it finds a very, I would say, healthy tension between pandering and condescending.
Yeah, exactly. There's a Star Wars reference, and then in the next lesson, he's like talking down to you about, well, you're not going to want to change the diapers and stuff. So.
Yeah, one of the, among the myriad of just infuriating things about this book, probably the most irritating, just readily annoying every time it happens, which is ubiquitously, is the inconsistency of the tone. The inconsistency of the tone of voice he's speaking with, the audience he's speaking to, the types of things he's saying, the just flat out almost contradictions from sentence to sentence. It's so weird.
It seems like they got a group, like a focus group together of like 20-something guys, and then just wrote down a bunch of words they used and gave this guy a list and was like, make sure you use all these. Because, it vacillates wildly between, sensitive guy, funny, semi-internet humor guy, macho tough guy. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, a lot of and a lot of just kind of hallmarks of not good writing. It seemed like this book just wasn't proofread at all. Like it didn't go past an editor beyond someone just checking to make sure there were no copyright issues or something. Nothing that's going to get them sued. A lot of the word, like the same conjunctions in a sentence like 3 times in a row. And like a lot of that's right next to each other.
There's also a Tig Notaro joke that's in this book almost word for word about baby showers. So
really? I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, it says, I recently attended a friend's baby shower and I was confused by the fact that no shower was offered and no babies were present. And that's the opening to her whole babies taking a shower routine, which is hilarious. And if you haven't heard it out there, you should go listen to it. But
I've not heard that one.
Yeah, it's really funny. She talks about how cool it would be to see a baby taking a shower.
I gotta check it out. I gotta be honest, I'm sort of a Tig bandwagoner.
Yeah,
I got into her when they, started talking about, oh my God, that amazing cancer routine.
That was great. But yeah, her this was on her album before that one. And I'm sure she still does it live. You could probably find it on YouTube, I'm sure, if you look up Tig Notaro Baby Shower, and it'll be better than this book.
Yeah, this guy does seem like the kind of guy that would like just tweet reworded jokes by other comedians.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of which, I actually found his Twitter, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
And only a few remarkable things. He's apparently loves tie-dye and rainbows. There's like a VW Bug covered in bumper stickers.
Wait.
His cover photo?
Okay, I gotta rewind here.
Okay.
Like, one of the first things that happens in this book is he starts slamming on gender roles. Like,
Yes.
there's a quote, I don't have my quotes out in front of me right now, but something about, if you start letting your wife get her way about everything, you're gonna have a son named Percy who wears a sailor suit and gets beat up. That sounds very strange coming from a man who loves rainbows and tie-dye. I don't know.
Yeah, his picture on Twitter, he's wearing a tie-dye shirt, and his cover photo is like a rainbow splash hippie van.
Dude.
Yeah, here's probably it's just hilariously just kind of dumb, and I love it. He tweeted 3 days ago on the 4th of July, 3 days ago as of this recording, he said, "Chocolate turtle St. Augustine, my pride in USA will swell like my stomach. Hashtag 4th of July."
Wow.
With a picture of a cake that has a sign in front of it that says Oreo cake. You can't make that shit up. Dude, it's too good.
Dude,
it's
you're getting an Oreo cake. Anyway.
The tweet literally starts, "Chocolate turtle St. Augustine."
Yeah. Well,
Oreo cake.
I should not be surprised that this man is from my home state of Florida, if he actually lives in St. Augustine.
He may be on vacation. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone outside of Florida goes on vacation to St. Augustine, really, though. It's a great place, though. You should visit. It's fun. Oldest fort in America, I think. Something like that. I don't know.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's pretty cool. So, one of my favorite things about this book is that he's created both an Ur woman and an Ur man, and refers to everybody. Just pretty much, talks about people's emotions and their reactions to things like they're givens. And
well, I mean, you got a dick, right?
yeah, exactly.
So you don't have emotions, obviously.
Yeah, he mentions that at some point. And that's one of those things that I thought, like, oh yeah, maybe he's trying to be funny here. Like, I get it. He's playing into these stereotypes. But he says this shit so much that after a while it's kind of hard to think of it like maybe he's joking and start to think that, like, this is actually what this guy thinks,
Yeah, and it's sort of used as like the premises of a lot of arguments he makes. It would be hard to think he was saying them facetiously.
But yeah, so basically, just want to continue to summarize here because there's not much for it. I mean, there's basically a bunch of chapters that walk you through the trimesters. There's also an adorably condescending section addressed to the women, the BMPs,
my God.
which later he contradicts in the book by saying he gets really mad about mommy blogs telling men how to be men, and then he says it's not like we spend time writing about how women should, deal with men during pregnancy, and it's like, dude, you did like 20 pages of it, like in
it's
this
actually
very
a
book.
lot like you do.
Yeah.
You personally.
But basically, like, I mean, the feeling I got from this wasn't, dude, you're going to be a dad. It's, dude, I am a dad. Because it just seemed like his experiences are, like, writ large as these universals.
Yeah, definitely.
When we come back, I think there's a lot of stuff to dig into here.
It really is.
Yeah, so I want to keep this first segment, pretty short because I have a feeling we're going to be ranting and raving a lot here soon. Mm-hmm. So if everyone could just stick around for a few minutes, we will be back with some righteous anger. All right, we're back on I Don't Even Pod and Owncast. My name is J.W. Friedman, and with me today is Klopfenpop. No mister.
What up? No mister.
No mister. That's
but all the mystery.
Ooh, that's good. Speaking of mystery, actually, this book kind of reminded me of the Mystery Method's Big Brother. So, but I wanted to get back because earlier in the first segment, I mentioned that I thought it was written by someone who was in their 40s, and you sounded kind of surprised that I had that opinion, but I wanted to explain to you why, and as such, I have compiled this list.
Well, okay.
This book was supposedly written for young dads, or young dads to be, but includes many references to, I think I got all of these, The Brady Bunch, Tyson vs. Spinks, 70s college basketball star Never Nervous Purvis Ellison, the Budweiser Swedish bikini team, a honeydew list, and 1980 sports commentator Jimmy V. So I had a hard time. Like when the Swedish bikini team came up, I'm like, oh my god, this guy has got to be like my dad's age, But he's not. He's just got really weird touchstones culturally, I guess. I don't know.
Really weird touchstone, and that's something I wanted to talk on too. It's sort of. He puts up this sort of what I perceive to be like a frat boy facade. Like he wants, like this book seems on one level like it's written to kind of the early 20 kind of mooks, frat guy.
Yeah. The white baseball hat guys.
Right, but it seems like he's just sort of trying to get there, but he sort of lets a few things crack through the facade.
Yeah.
Sort of betray who he really is as a person.
You can see his inner fedora poking through. But by the way, the word fedora is mentioned 3 times in this book, so unironically.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. I think that the first crack I noticed so it's. And this is, I really want to get into examples of the inconsistency of the tone.
Yeah, definitely.
So at the same time as he's sort of talking to the frat crowd and saying things like dude and abbreviating baby making partner as BMP.
God, I hate that so much. Electromagnetic pulse.
Yes. So he has this excerpt. He says, "She's nose deep in books you would never spend 2 seconds reading. She will be filled with facts and figures, while you'll be sitting trying to figure out how Malcolm Gladwell gets his hair to look like that, and whether you could get away with that look." Okay, like 4 things here. First off, how are you going to start a sentence by saying, reading is stupid? And end it with the Malcolm Gladwell reference.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Also, I think Malcolm Gladwell's hair is stupid looking.
Right. Well, and also, I mean, his hair looks like that because his dad is from Jamaica.
Oh.
How do you get away with that look? Well, have a black dad.
Yeah.
For a start.
Shit. Now I feel like an asshole.
He's like, I wonder if I could pull that off. It's like when as a kid, I've got one of those big Jufros, and these old ladies would always come up to me as a kid and ask if I had a perm. It's like, I'm 7.
I'm a 7-year-old boy,
would
lady.
A 3rd grader have a perm? Who
are
you?
I knew a 3rd grader with a perm, but it was a girl, and she was very old for her age.
Okay.
Her name was Audra. She came to one of my birthday parties, and everyone was fighting over which piece of cake to get. And this girl what 3rd grade is what, like 9 or 10, I guess, just looks at everybody, and she had this low gravelly voice, and she goes, "Cake is cake. You get what you get." So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But anyway, I digress. I'll let you get back here to your Gladwell.
Yeah. So also, the fact that he mentions Malcolm Gladwell and the primary touchstone that he has of Malcolm Gladwell is his appearance, the appearance of an author, told me everything I didn't know about this guy.
That's true.
This guy is a TED Talk guy.
This book is kind of a TED Talk.
It is, and as I've been quoted by our mutual friend Jesse Dangerously on Twitter as saying, TED Talks are the Upworthy of the NPR crowd.
Yeah, definitely. Every time someone recommends a TED Talk, like an angel dies.
It's so true.
Speaking of inconsistencies of tone, there was another. when he talks about women, things get a little interesting.
Yeah, they do.
At one point, the phrase "tainted with vile estrogen" is deployed, it's very strange. Like, I don't know exactly where he's coming from with a lot of this stuff, because the book is just filled with these kind of stereotypes about how your wife is going to act, and he'll vary wildly from being like, you got to take care of her and stuff like that, to then being like, she's going to be a big old blimp that's an asshole, and like, I don't. Yeah, it's like, it's fucking weird, man. I don't know.
You need to assert your needs. I'm pretty sure he spent far more time addressing how, sometimes men can get postpartum depression too, than he does in, hey, your wife is almost certainly going to get postpartum depression, and here's some ways you can support here, here's what you can expect, here's what it'll look like. He's like, dudes get the baby blues too. Have your wife read this chapter about how you're going to get sad, and she needs to care about that while she's trying to worry about not hating the baby she just spat out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's there's a whole lot of like very kind of self-serving stuff in this for
really
sure.
is.
Like, there's like look. What was the one thing that really got me was when he was talking about running out to get late night snacks, and he's like, but that's going to score you some brownie points and all this kind of stuff, and like,
yeah, it really seemed one of the only consistent things I felt about this book is that it kind of seemed like his goal in writing this book was to have like an officially published and printed baby book that he wished he could have had to say, look, hun, it says it in the baby book. It's gotta be true.
Exactly.
It's not just me.
It's like he specifically mentions, not drinking when your wife can't drink, which is a good idea. But then he also specifically mentions going out and getting hammered with your other friends. So, I mean, okay, so just to kind of get back into some of the things here that like actually made me legitimately angry about this book. I think the first thing that like really upset me is the strict adherence to gender roles, to the point where it almost feels like parody. Like, in a lot of ways, like, I felt like I was reading something that was written, like, in the era of Real Men Don't Eat Quiche. Like, it's just so, like, men do this, and you're a man, so you do this, and women do this because they're women, and, like, it's,
Yeah, like, I feel like this guy's favorite comedians are, like, there's probably a tie between Jeff Dunham and Tim Allen.
There's definitely a lot of Tim Allen in his writing style as well.
Definitely.
Tim Allen could probably also write a better baby book than this.
Almost certainly.
The other thing that really got to me about this, and I'm going to avoid banging this drum long because I could talk about this for hours, but most of the advice in this book is about as middle class and privileged as it gets, and it assumes a lot about the readership. There's a lot of talk about insurance plans and paternity leave and huge amounts of disposable income, and they're presented as must-dos.
Yeah.
And, he very rarely, describes a cheaper option for things except for, like, hang on to maternity clothes in case your wife gets pregnant again. But there is just this whole, how are you going to have your baby? Make sure that your insurance company covers the hospital you're going to. And I mean, like, we live in a time when, like, huge percentage of Americans don't have health insurance. It's like,
seriously,
I feel like there should be a subtitle, like, on this book that says, like, dude, you're going to be a dad, like, for people who make upwards of, $75,000 a year or something like that. But what really bugs me about that is that he still seems to think it's okay to make these kind of, like hip-hoppy jokes. Like, he takes a shot at Oprah at one point and talks about hood cred. And I think if you're writing a book that's this dangerously middle class and makes those sort of assumptions, you should probably stay in your own lane.
Yeah.
I think
that's a good way of saying it.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's pretty much. I'm going to stop right there because, like I said, I could rant and rave about this forever. But yeah, that was something I found a little bit upsetting. Probably also because I am not going to be a father anytime soon, so there was probably advice in there that scared you more than me. But that shit pissed me off a lot.
Yeah. When one of the inconsistencies along those lines is how he just jumps between, like, in one breath it feels like he's trying to talk to, like, a 17-year-old kid who's like in high school and accidentally knocked up his girlfriend and hasn't told either of their parents yet, to saying shit like, it might be fun time to relive some of those old memories.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah, it's it's weird.
yeah, like here we go on page 23. He says, Dad's crib notes for chapter 1, which, by the way, don't get me started.
You knew that pun was coming. Like from the minute you started the book, you knew that pun was coming.
So he says, you'll both be full of hope and fear. Now is the time to man up and talk about this with your partner, by the way. Typo.
Yeah.
More evidence that no editor. And don't worry, you can't see it now, but you're going to love being a dad. To the next page saying, it might be fun to relive some of those old memories. Literally a page turn away.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he doesn't know who he was writing this for, and I agree with you there. He's got this tone that I would call
I just turned to that. I literally wrote in the margin, who is the fucking audience here?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, like you keep talking about the dramatic tonal shifts. A lot of it, I still feel like is being employed in service of what he thinks is like kind of like the current internet irony, and it just doesn't come across. But
I hope so.
I don't know. Now that you've told me about his Twitter and stuff, too, it's just like I don't know if irony exists in this man's head.
Well, and also the. I'm not sure if he's too up with the hip internet thing, as his official website is dudeyouradad.blogspot.com.
Nice. Yes.
On which he has like maybe 5 entries, one of which I just has this great excerpt I just want to read, just as a testament to the quality of his writing.
Gotcha.
I am currently a judge for a book contest for my publisher. They sent me 2 boxes of book to read, pass judgment on, and send back.
2 boxes of book.
Yes. But it also, the last post on his fucking blog spot is, I decided to wade into the world of multimedia. This is my first foray into the world of video, and I really enjoyed it, so stay tuned for updates. Last post, January 21st, 2013.
Oh, I hope he's okay.
And the video is horrible. It's just one steady shot of him speaking and like being shifty and looking around and putting little captions like, right now my daughter is dancing ballet in the background. Now
this is great. It's like it is like someone's dad discovered the internet.
It really, really is.
I love too that he's been, missing in action for about a year and a half now. I hope he wasn't a casualty of the great dude wars of 2013. So on that note, thanks for listening so far. Stick around for one more. We're going to play some games and do some dramatic readings and talk some more shit. All right. Bye. Welcome back to I Don't Even Own a Podcast. Today we are talking about Dude, You're Gonna Be a Dad with...
You did it again, by the way.
What?
You just said I don't even own a podcast.
Awesome.
I'm so glad I was here for one of those.
That one wasn't even intentional. I've started doing
I live for those, man.
I've started doing it intentionally sometimes, I will admit. But that was not one of them. That one slipped
You just
through.
kind of glossed over it. I'm so happy I got to experience that in real time.
Well, it's like when you have this 10-word phrase that you say over and over again, it's really easy to start switching the words around in order. And
I believe it.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to derail you, though.
So a cool thing about this book that I liked is the way he describes sex constantly like a military operation.
Yes!
There's like, sometimes frighteningly so. He talks about, oh, shit, where is it? Yeah, here it is, right here. Okay, yeah. So yeah, he talks about, with luck, calling in the professionals. This is if you're having trouble getting pregnant. He says, with luck, you can get help from the doctors and the repetition of well-timed attacks from your seed. Ovulation kits will help your girl know when the egg is ready to launch and it's time to get your soldiers into battle. My note here was, this is Captain Sex reporting for duty. We are headed for the vagina. Repeat, we are heading for the vagina. So,
you know what it reminded me of? Was it History of the World Part 1?
Oh, yeah.
Where they're all in the dude's brain?
Yes.
Ready erection, ready an erection. Brain to penis. Yeah. Go for erection. You are go for erection.
It's just like, I wonder.
This is not a drill.
I hope he doesn't talk to his wife like this.
Like, God. Can you imagine?
Are you ready to get assaulted by my seed? The eggs are ready to launch. Send soldiers into battle.
Just approaching climax and just Geronimo.
Oh gosh. Warning. This episode is blue. Okay. And just one other small thing I wanted to mention here before we get into some fun times. There is a title, a chapter titled Get Into Bondage. No, really. And then he goes on to talk about how this is the time to bond with your wife and to bond with your unborn baby. Now, unfortunately, the word he was looking for is bonding, because bondage, if you're not talking about S&M, you're talking about slavery. I'd just like to point that out. So
that did remind me, I have a cousin who would always put edge, like the suffix edge on the end of everything.
Was he a Descendants fan?
I don't know.
Yeah, because they do that with a ton of their songs, like Bikeage and Coolidge and...
He might have done that, because he would always be like, hey man, going down to the International District, want to see if I get some coinage.
Gotcha.
Coinage. That's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of this man or his book, honestly, and I think we've pretty much gotten into a lot of detail on that, but I think there's enough of him in here where we have a pretty good impression of what his actions might be in certain situations. So it's time to bring back an old favorite, a game called What Would They Do?
Oh man.
Sometimes the tensions are hard to divine, and others the clear as day. So tell me, what would they do?
Okay, so in What Would They Do? What would they do? I propose, one or two scenarios, and normally we try to discern what a character would do, but in this case, I think it's going to have to be the author. And so, what do you think John Pfeiffer would do if he were actually in a room with a bunch of dudes?
I think he would try. I think he would try to fit in, but would miss the mark a little bit. I feel like he'd probably ask if they were into the American remake of Top Gear.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. That's actually pretty close to what I was gonna say was, basically to attempt to figure out whatever they were into and then just completely miss the mark. So yeah,
yes.
And then spend a lot of time like high-fiving people after bad jokes too. I think that would happen. Okay, so let's do one more here. This is not so much a what would they do, but well, how many times do you think a year John Pfeiffer cries?
Oh man, I mean, I would have to say probably a solid 3 times a week, easy.
I think every time he remembers that he wrote this book. Sorry, I just softballed myself. I couldn't help it. But anyway, okay, so yeah, that was a lot of fun. We're great at games here on I Don't Even Own a Television. You win a prize, and I'll tell you what it is later. Except I'm not actually going to because there's no prize.
Okay, good. I was a little worried. It was like I'm going to send you another copy of this fucking book.
Yeah. Either that or just, what? Oh, man. Sorry. I just totally lost my train of thought. Okay, I'll just edit that out.
No worries.
Okay, so yeah, I'm kind of I'm running out of stuff here, because the book is just the same thing over and over again, there is one point I wanted to make, though, when he's talking about you trying to fight hormones. And he says, you versus the hormones is like Spinks versus Tyson, Joe versus the volcano, and Tiger Woods versus monogamy. Heh 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 heh. You have no chance. All right, motherfucker, you know nothing about boxing. Leon Spinks was the champion of the world and was undefeated when he fought Mike Tyson. He had a chance. So shut the fuck up and never write about boxing again. Thank you. Okay, I'm done.
All right. I concur.
Yeah. Mike Tyson ain't all that. No, I don't know. Actually, Spinks did get his ass kicked, but he had a chance. That's what I'm saying.
Now here's a question: Do you think he just looked that reference up, or do you think he just pulled it?
I think he as a kid, I remember that fight because Spinks got knocked out in something like 8 or 9 seconds. So I remember that just being a big deal, mostly because a lot of my mom's friends paid for the pay-per-view.
Shit.
It was like an $80 fight, and then the fight lasted for like 8 seconds or something. So if he's around my age,
wow.
If he's around my age, I'm sure he remembers Spinks getting his ass whooped, but he doesn't seem to understand the circumstances coming into the bout, which was that they were trying to unify the world title again. Tyson held 2 belts at the time from 2 different conferences. And Spinks, who was undefeated, was the champion of another one. So the winner was going to be the unified champion, you know? It's not like he was a nobody. Boy, I just spent a lot of time talking about boxing. This is going to piss people off worse than when I get about baseball.
That actually sounds compelling and short enough that I might, it might be a sporting event I would enjoy aside from And One Basketball.
And One Basketball is pretty good too. I like that.
It's sports for people with ADD.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of Rugby Sevens. That's a good one too. Let's talk about sports for the next 15 minutes, and I'm sure my audience will grow.
I gotta be honest, unless we're going to the Globetrotters, I'm tapped out of sports references.
Okay, cool. Hey, well, what do you think about Rush?
I think Neil Peart losing that sponsorship deal was bullshit.
Yeah.
And I will be honest, I looked up that reference beforehand because I knew you would ask.
Yeah, they should have kept him. They should have kept him on, man. He's Neil. He's a machine.
He's the Peart.
So, as you can tell, I'm kind of out of stuff to complain about here, so I think it's time for a audience favorite, judging from the 5 or 6 emails I've received to date, called Dramatic Readings.
Dramatic readings. We're gonna make it sound important. Dramatic readings. Yeah, I got some words for you.
So, in Dramatic Readings, we take passages from this week's selection and read them. I used to say in the style of NPR selected shorts, but I feel like that's getting a little old, so now I'm going to say in the style of Masterpiece Classics, except on radio. Which makes no sense. Awesome. So, basically, we're dramatically going to read some bullshit. Josh came equipped. Oops, sorry. Klopfenpop came equipped.
I really don't care.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Klopfenpop came equipped with multiple dramatic reading potential. So we're going to do a little ice cream sandwich here where he's going to begin, and then I will jump in, and then he'll do his second one. So hopefully you guys will get the most bang for your buck that way. So whenever you're ready, just go ahead and hit me.
Yeah, so, man, it was hard to narrow these down. So I tried to narrow down 2 examples that will really sort of let you know who this dude is.
He's a dude.
Yeah. So this one is him explaining how conception works. I know I'm trying to figure out if I should imitate how I thought he sounded or how he actually sounded. I think I'm just going to read it. How it works. Pretty much every month, she ovulates, and her body gets ready to have a baby. So when your Barry White influence GROOVY sperm meets her egg, the shagadelic party in her uterus gets started.
You know, I made a note about that segment, and that was towards the beginning of the book, and my note was, I think this book is actually written for 60-year-old men who drive Audi TT convertibles. Shagadelic. Barry White, I mean, like, I know everyone knows who Barry White is, but, like, if that's your go-to for, like, romantic music and you're not, you know, I don't know. It just, it's frustrating. Okay.
Yeah, more to the point for me, if you ever spell out a word as a emphatic device,
Yeah.
you've lost me.
That's true, yeah. 'Cause
Irreparably. You have lost me forever.
it just becomes a, in my head, automatically an acronym for something, and I start trying to figure it out, you know?
I like that. I should start doing that from now on.
Okay, so here's mine. There's a section where he talks about the changes in your wife's body that might occur, and as you can expect, most of it is pretty straightforward stuff. As everybody knows, women's breasts do get larger when they're pregnant. This is me talking. I'm not reading the book, but I'd like to, hopefully attempt the intended tone here and read his section about what will happen to breasts during pregnancy. Okay, breasts. I will attempt to keep. Breasts. I will attempt to keep this section purely as it pertains to the gestation of your future child. Her breasts are preparing to produce milk for the baby. Estrogen, among other hormones, is working to increase the glands that produce this nutritious liquid. During pregnancy, these changes can also lead to breast enlargement. See, I'm biting my tongue. Her breasts may feel slightly firm and are often tender, trying to hold back. Your partner may even need a bigger bra as this growth progresses. Oh, for God's sakes, let the puppies breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, let the puppies breathe. Yeah, don't say that to a woman ever. Please, just everyone out there, don't do that. Please.
It's like he erroneously learned what real funny is from like shitty 90s sitcoms.
Yeah, then wow. Yeah, no, okay, this is the breakthrough moment of this podcast. You're totally right. You're totally right.
Like, it's like Full House was the pinnacle of comedy for him.
Yeah, like no, man.
It's like no one ever gave him like a okay, edit this out. I'm totally blanking.
Yeah.
Fuck, 7 Dirty Words.
Oh, George Carlin.
AMF. George Carlin. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like no one ever gave him a George Carlin record when he was in high school or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. You're right on point though. Like tonally, like just about anything in this book could come out of the mouth of Al Bundy. Would not be surprising, I think. Perhaps the dad from Family Matters. Like it's bad, and I bet the dude You're a Dad one is even worse. But I don't think we're gonna revisit any of this man's work in the future. Because it's horrible. But you had one more dramatic reading for us, so why don't you go ahead with that?
This was the point at which I just gave up on this book and stopped reading it until we decided we were going to record a podcast about how horrible it is.
Yeah.
I was at work and I went outside to call my wife and tell her how horrible this book was at this point. I was like, do you know what this book you bought me told me to tell you? Oh, so here we go. This guy. Discuss plans for your child after her birth. Make it clear to your BMP that you still expect a hot meal and foot rub upon your arrival home from work. These are the important things that will ease the changes that are sure to happen.
Wow.
Even if... Really? How...
Yeah, I mean, that's, once again, I want to give this guy the benefit of the doubt and assume that that's supposed to be sarcasm or irony, but these things happen so much in this book that if it is he's lost control of his sarcasm button because it's all over the place. It's filled with 1950s style misogyny. Not even the 80s machismo, I would say. There's a lot of barefoot and pregnant kind of stuff going on here.
Well, and here's the thing. How much place would sarcasm have in directive statements in an instructional book?
That's a very good point too. Unless someone finally invents that sarcasm punctuation mark,
the sarc mark. I don't think that part is sarcastic or was meant as sarcasm. Because I mean, I read that particular passage just because it was so confounding, a couple dozen times at least. And I mean, it comes right after a section about that you're supposed to have your baby making partner read, that is all about how, like, says shit like, he feels left out in the cold, and this pregnancy is difficult for him to deal with, and he gets the blues too. He feels left out in the cold, and this pregnancy, or this pregnant woman is difficult to deal with, and he gets the blues too. And the excerpt that would have made it into my dramatic reading is the creepiest thing I have ever read.
Well, let's go ahead and do it.
And this is the part that your BMP is supposed to read and really take to heart. Give him a week where he's the only one who gets to touch the baby bump. Be flexible and take him to Vegas. Okay, maybe that's going too far.
Hey, let's go to Vegas and feel the baby bump.
No one else gets to feel the baby bump. That's my special thing for a week.
That's so weird. Yeah, I don't know. This book, it creeped me out, and I think that's going to lead pretty well into recommendations here because...
Yeah.
No, I would not recommend this book earnestly. No, I would not recommend this book ironically. I would recommend that you stay as far away from this book as humanly possible. And yeah, that's it. Really.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there is information in this book that is useful, but there is no useful I mean, it talks about like Braxton Hicks contractions and stuff like that. But I mean, there is no useful information in this book you couldn't get from reading a couple cracked articles.
Yeah.
And I do.
Or you know, many of the books about pregnancy that already exist.
True, very true.
That don't necessarily have the cool dude tone that you might be looking for, but
yeah. And I do want to point out, I forgot to mention, we were talking about the Malcolm Gladwell thing. Because I was trying to figure out what kind of person makes a Malcolm Gladwell reference like that. And our mutual friend Dan just put it perfectly. He said, someone who subscribes to the New Yorker but doesn't read it.
Yeah,
that
totally.
Is yeah.
That's awesome. That is good.
Yeah. So if you
yeah.
feel like that's the kind of person you want speaking into your life, then I guess go ahead and read it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think, though, it's probably time to wrap things up here. But before we get going, I'm curious if there's anything you'd like to plug for the listeners.
Yeah. Klopfenpop.com. That's KLOPFENPOP.com. SoundCloud/Klopfenpop. Klopfenpop.bandcamp. I make the internet raps.
The internet raps. Yeah. They yeah. It's really weird to listen to because it just sounds like a modem.
Yeah, it's mostly programmed in hexadecimal. I do most of the editing in a text document, but no. But no, yeah, I do kind of, I don't know, a little bit of like literary hip hop and a lot of just kind of regular hip hop. I don't know. Yeah,
and I mean, for those who are familiar with my musical past will know that we've worked together a couple times as well.
Yeah, Mark of the Man Beast was me.
Yeah, and it's a really, really good song, and you should look that up too, but I don't want to... yeah. Anyway. My name is Jay Friedman. I'm the host of a podcast and nothing else. Okay, but yeah, so definitely check out Klopfenpop stuff. If you're in the mood to, while you're already, in the words of John Pfeiffer, crafting a witty tweet to your peeps, why not give us a shout? IDOTV pod at Twitter. We're the same thing on Facebook, and I don't even own a television at gmail.com is the email address. So please reach out, join the Facebook club. it's a page, but I call it a club because I want everyone to be happy and have fun all the time. So yeah, don't read this book, and we'll be well on our way towards that goal.
And all the expecting dads out there, man up, all right?
I want a baby. I want a baby. Pull your pants down, focus down, baby. I want a baby. I want a baby. Pull your pants down, focus down, baby. It's fun to start making. Let's do